Over the past couple of years, we've seen Activision slowly move away from supporting modern warfare. But since that game's still kinda linked with their battle royale, we see changes trickle over all the time. With Warzone's latest Pacific Season 4 Reloaded update though, it looks like the OG game's about to get a massive downgrade. What exactly did the developer remove? And does it point towards something else? Well, keep on watching to find out. First up, Warzone's new update also alters modern warfare. Call of Duty Warzone's the big dog for Activision Blizzard these days as it continues to break records and dominate the more hardcore side of the battle royale genre. In fact, it wouldn't be a stretch to suggest that it's overtaken the mainline franchise, which to be fair hasn't seen a great entry for a while. Don't get us wrong, Vanguard and Black Ops Cold War are still decent enough, but they're just not what the series needs right now. Having said that, it's not like the last great COD is safe from being contaminated either. Of course, we're talking about modern warfare here, and like the game launched in a flawless state and also got a bunch of pretty good post-launch content. But even after Infinity War had stopped supporting it, the ghost of its younger sibling still haunts it. If you don't know what we're talking about, here's a quick rundown. Over the weekend, Warzone got a new Season 4 Reloaded update, which was meant to introduce a bunch of stuff to the Battle Royale. Now, that would have been fine had it only affected the game it was actually pushed to. With the way these updates work though, modern warfare kinda got caught in the crossfire as well. And apparently this new update meant that players no longer had access to game modes like Domination and Ground War. But wait, how does a Warzone update affect modern warfare? When it comes to strange video game development tropes, it doesn't get weirder than this. We mean yes, that game-breaking photo of a coconut in Team Fortress 2's files might be the biggest conundrum of our times, but at least that was still present within the same game. This Warzone thingy, on the other hand, somehow manages to transcend its own code and seep its way into modern warfare, which technically is an entirely different game. With that said, while it's fun to speculate and think that there's some voodoo magic involved here, reality's often more disappointing. So what's the reason behind this mess? Well, you see, Warzone is built upon modern warfare, as it not only came out a few months after the reboot, but also used to run via the same client. Obviously, Infinity Ward had to eventually separate the two due to the Battle Royale's longevity, but on some deeper intrinsic level, they're still linked. They share similar code, have the same engine, and even the gunplay is pretty much the exact same. Like you could say that they're soulmates that are bound together. Plus, it's just how the developer rolls, which to be fair is alright for the most part. It's just that sometimes these shortcuts can result in unintended consequences, like the one we've got today. Having said that, you'd be surprised by how many times we've seen a similar thing happen between the two games. For instance, we've seen a knock-on effect on player health on multiple occasions. Why? Well, because they decided to tweak the netcode, which is the same for both titles. On top of that, we've seen a Warzone update completely break modern warfare as well. So these sorts of errors are a pretty common occurrence. Besides, while the game mode removal definitely sucks, it could be a lot worse. Oh, and we're not excusing Infinity Ward here or anything. It's just that this is an inherent issue with the way both of these entries were developed, and it's almost impossible to fix at this point. Now, players aren't happy with the removal of game modes. Obviously, when you lose two of the main game modes in any game, it's a bummer. And when it's a Call of Duty game that millions are playing to this day, then that's a big problem. Besides, the franchise isn't known for having the calmest of fans anyway. So, yep, the internet was filled with a lot of criticism directed toward the developer. Oh, and yes, there were some super angry fans as well. For instance, one Reddit user, Louise MW, questioned how they could screw up a 3-year-old game that they don't even support anymore. Another player also commented saying that it's baffling to see a game mode as significant as Domination go away. Oh, and one user, DCS30, went even as far as to say that Activision shouldn't be allowed to make any video games ever again, which, to be fair, might be a tad too much. But hey, when you pull something like this off, you're probably already expecting this sort of flack. Of course, this isn't the only issue with the game either, as a bug that increased everyone's HP to 150 instead of the regular 100 is also causing chaos among the modern warfare community. So, not a great day to be a fan or developer, honestly. With that said, Call of Duty Modern Warfare wasn't supposed to live this long anyway. As a franchise, Call of Duty's been through some pretty significant changes over the years. Like, we've seen them move between settings, try out new stuff like zombies, and even branch into the battle royale genre. What hasn't changed ever since its inception, though, is the fact fact that it's still an annualized series that continues to sell boatloads every single year. With that said, there's a cost attached to this insane formula, as it's pretty much impossible to develop a new game in a year. So what they do is alternate between a bunch of teams and get things done that way. Now in theory, this sounds great since fans get a different new game each year, and Activision gets to fill its pockets with money. In reality, however, there's this strange disconnect between each individual entry that just breaks that cycle of consistency. Like each Call of Duty developer's effort feels so inherently different in terms of control that it can be a bit jarring when you hop from one game to the next. So what a lot of players do is that they stick around for one game and wait for that same dev to release the next one, which usually takes around 3 years. Having said that, this approach is kind of antithetical to how Activision approaches these games, as for them, a new entry basically gives them the license to abandon the older title. Their best interest is to make players buy Call of Duty every single year. We mean, you see the problem here, right? Take Modern Warfare for instance. It came out in 2019 and they've had 2 more games since, which is why to them it feels weird to be supporting the older game when players could be getting into the new stuff. But of course, we know that that's not how things work. Up next, Infinity Ward will restore the game modes in the future. Now, if there's any consolation to be found between all this drama, however, it's the fact that they promise that this removal is only temporary. You see, we've seen these game-breaking bugs in the past as well, that force a dev to remove certain features from the title. After all, a stripped-down version is still better than the one that crashes every time you launch it. Besides, it's not like modes like Ground War were working properly before they pulled the plug anyway. For instance, one player, Slim Cargos on Reddit, revealed that their game froze every single time they tried to jump into a match of Ground War or Domination. Oh, and let's not forget, Warzone's crash error codes carry over to Modern Warfare too. So even though it should be super stable 3 years after release, the reality is the polar opposite of that. Like, it's an actual mess right now and probably hasn't felt this stable in ages. So perhaps shutting things down and fixing them before opening the floodgates is the smarter choice here. And finally, Infinity Ward is gearing up for Modern Warfare 2. Now, while it's obviously pretty alarming to see Modern Warfare having these issues 3 years after its release, the fact that we're so close to a sequel kinda offsets that at the same time. Infinity Ward is probably all hands on deck right now for the mainline sequel, and of course Warzone 2 as well, which is apparently gonna overhaul everything. So maybe we could still forgive them for not paying as much attention to an old game. Also, let's just hope that the new Battle Royale isn't tied as closely to the normal title, because no one wants to see the same issues pop up again. Oh, and then there's the whole thing with Microsoft buying them up as well, which will probably shift them away from the yearly release cycle anyway. What do you think though? Will Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 be able to replicate the success of the first game? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.